Welcome to this explainer on Mastering Paper 3. You might be wondering why some candidates just seem to breeze right through these exams, while others put in hundreds of hours and still struggle. Well, today we're cutting through the noise. We're going to look straight at the strict professional architecture you absolutely need for a passing grade. Think of it like unlocking the examiner's secret code, which is going to save you a ton of wasted study time. Here is exactly how we're breaking this down today. First, the marking paradox. Then, the 4 required elements, speaking the standards, statutory and ethical references, precision in vocabulary, and finally, the final directive. All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the marking paradox. Imagine 2 candidates sitting for the Advanced Auditing, Assurance, and Professional Ethics paper. Let's look at student A. She's got this incredible, deep conversational fluency. She reads a ton, thinks deeply, and truly gets the underlying audit concepts. Now look at student B. He honestly knows less overall, but he is rigidly applying a mechanical structure to every single one of his answers. Guess what? When the results drop, student B scores higher. Seriously, it's not a mistake and it's definitely not luck. The examiner reading your answer is not looking for abstract understanding. They are literally checking off specific structural elements. Marks are attached to each of those elements completely separately. Which brings us to part 2, the 4 required elements. Okay, so there is a mandatory 4-part anatomy to a valid answer. You literally cannot skip these. Step 1 is identification. You've got to name the standard, the section, or the clause. Don't just give a vague description. Name it. Step 2 is the requirement. Once you've named the rule, explicitly state exactly what it obliges the auditor to do. Step 3. Application. You have to connect that specific requirement right back to the facts in front of you. Those dates, amounts, and names in a question scenario, they aren't just window dressing. They're the exact material you need to test the requirement against. And finally, step 4, conclusion. Explicitly state the required action for the auditor. If you just trail off and leave the examiner guessing what your point is, you lose. Miss even one of these 4 elements and you instantly forfeit its marks, no matter how beautifully written the rest of your essay is. Because look, there is a massive difference between recognition and knowledge. Naming a standard, that's just mere recognition. Stating its exact requirement, that is knowledge. And this right here is where so many answers just completely fall apart. It is never enough to just spot the governing rule and then start rambling about the topic in general terms. You have to clearly state the specific obligation that standard imposes on the auditor. That second part, this specific requirement, is what actually earns you the mark. Now, what's entirely absent from the marking criteria might actually shock you. The length of your answer doesn't matter at all. Your beautiful presentation style, completely irrelevant. The sheer number of standards you manage to creatively recall from memory, also absent. A short, highly structured answer that hits those 4 core elements we just talked about is going to outscore a meandering 5-page essay every single time. And by the way, this rigorous discipline isn't just for the essay questions. It applies exactly the same way, just in a compressed form, to the objective portion of the paper. When you're given a set of facts and asked which treatment is correct, the mental structure of your thinking has to remain exactly the same. Only the physical writing is removed. Moving right along, part 3, speaking the standards. To establish that baseline of professional communication, you have to use strict formatting. The register needs to be calm, precise, and totally clear. First, you must name the standard in full. Second, absolutely avoid all abbreviations upon your first mention. And crucially, this is a strict rule. You've got to spell out all numbers and words exactly as they are spoken aloud and formally documented. Let me give you an example. You need to explicitly state Standard on Auditing 570 Ongoing Concern. Notice how the number is fully spelled out in words? You must name the standard by its full number early on. Explain the standard clearly and without embellishment. Now, descriptive terms, like saying the going concern standard, are totally acceptable, but only after you've established this formal baseline in your very first full mention. Next up, part 4, statutory and ethical references. When you're dealing with statutory citations, the format is unyielding. For instance, the Companies Act has to be spoken and written in full. If you're citing a section, you spell it out, Section 143. And when you drill down further, you need absolute precision. It's exactly subsection 3 of Section 143. And for professional ethics references, the precision is just as demanding. Every single layer of the text has to be explicitly mapped out and spelled as words. You're looking at phrases like Clause 7 of Part 1 of the first schedule of the Chartered Accountants Act. There are absolutely no shortcuts here. Let's dive into Part 5, Precision in Vocabulary. The exam heavily penalizes colloquial language, so we really need to establish a strong baseline of competence. Think about it. An auditor does not certify, they don't guarantee, and they don't prove anything. An auditor expresses an opinion. And you can go ahead and forget the word error when speaking generally. The professional blanket term you want is misstatement. Oh, and you aren't issuing a certificate. You are issuing an audit report. Mastering these critical distinctions is vital. Like we just covered, a misstatement isn't always an error. An error is merely one specific type of misstatement. And what about management versus those charged with governance? They are completely distinct parties, and using those terms interchangeably is a massive failure in precision. Finally, always remember that an audit provides reasonable assurance. Yes, that is high, but it is never, ever absolute. Which brings us to our conclusion, Part 6, the final directive. So, as you gear up for your next exam, I want you to ask yourself something. Are you studying just to understand the material, or are you actually training yourself to surgically extract marks from the examiner? You've got to remember this above all else. Paper 3 does not reward what you understand. It rewards what you can identify, state, apply, and conclude. In that order, on paper.